Welcome to Lesson 14, Part 2. Now that we have many of the tools to build a website using HTML and CSS, we can think about design. Remember from the beginning how we talked about the ugly sweater and the nicely designed sweater? You now have enough knowledge to build your own sweater. When you build your website, look at other successful designs. Think about the websites you like and don't like. What works there and what doesn't? Can you incorporate some of those same designs into your own website? First, let's publish our website, then look at some successful designs. Now that you've finished writing your code, you should make sure you have organized your files for your website. You may have worked on different projects, and that is also alright. The next step is to put it all online so people can find it. If you're looking for total control over your website, you'll need to do two things. Find hosting, which means you are renting file space on a hosting company's web server. You put your files on this server, and the web server makes that content available on the web. The second is a domain name. You are technically renting a domain name for a couple of years from a domain register, such as GoDaddy, Register.com, or NameSilo. You can use a coupon code HTML class at NameSilo. This is how many professional websites go. For this class, we are hosting your files. So first step, we're going to launch Core FTP, and we're going to connect to our website. Make sure you enter your credentials, and you logged in, and so this is a brand new fresh website. Like, copy the path here, go back to Core FTP. Oops. All right. So on our file system here, I have three projects: the Black Goose Bistro project, the Forms project, and our water project. So to get them ready for the web, first thing I'm going to do is change these to lowercase and easier to remember. I'm going to change this one to Bistro, change this one to Forms, and this one to lowercase water. That's just on the file system. Let me go show you the website for now. So our website is technically empty. That's why it says index of users, and the username I'm using is publish. So this is all empty. And now if I just upload these three folders, take a look, we see some things already filling. Now we have these forms, but this doesn't look like much of a website. If I click Forms, this is technically index.html. If I do HTML, it's object not found. But since you have an index.html file, that's the first one the web browser tries to display. This extra button goes to this next page, and in this project, as you can remember, it was our Forms project where we submit to an outside website, and it tells us what we sent to it. Let's see, how's this website looking? Okay. If we click our water project, waiting for Tesla Systems. So this was the beginning of our water project. Fun facts, site home, my links. So now this is all on the web. Let me go back to the beginning. So as you can see here, we uploaded three projects and we can see them. But as this doesn't look that nice, we're going to create a small index HTML file here. Here I'm just going to do it by hand. New text file, and for now I'm just going to leave it as new text document. I'm going to double click it. It's going to open a notepad, and we're going to start typing raw HTML here. So these are the three folders we have. So I'm going to make three links to them. Okay. Equals Bistro. So anchor tag, hypertext to Bistro. Call this Bistro project. Forms, form project. water project, and we'll have a paragraph at the beginning. This is my HTML class portfolio. I'm going to hit save, and now I'm going to close it, and now I'm going to rename the whole thing to index.html. Windows is going to say, are you sure? We're going to say yes, and that file, once I refresh this, see this here with the circle? This is refresh. Drag it over. And it should copy it over. Come on. And it did not copy it over. What happened here? Okay, disconnect the website. Oh, there it goes. Right? No. Yep, now copied over. And it displays the links. But see how these are all on the same line, even though, well, now we're gonna have to use a bigger tool. I'm gonna right click this and click open with Notepad. I'm gonna use Notepad for here. Even though we wrote this on 3 separate lines, it displayed all on the same line. Remember, HTML ignores those white spaces unless you specifically tell it to show that white space. So I'm going to go back to index, and I'm going to add some styling. Do the unordered list, close my tag, and change each one of these into a list item. Now we'll upload that file again, just to see how it looks on the web, overwrite it. There we go. It looks a little nicer. So if I click on the Bistro project, it goes straight to the Bistro project we did. The form project goes to the form page we created, and this extra button is this little project did with CSS and a little bit of JavaScript there. And our water project goes to the water project, and the water project has its own navigation. So if we go to site home, it goes back to the index page for the water project and not the index page of this site. So we've organized our files so that make it easy to locate. We put everything lowercase, and we've provided an index file which we should update so that people, when they come here, they know a little bit more about what those files are. So let me talk a little bit about some common layouts. So let me close these other tags and go to the layouts. Okay. So this is one of the most common layouts, a 2-column fluid layout. So why 2 columns? So there's a column here and there's another column here. So this has a dashed border, we can see it. There's also a heading and a footer here. But what makes it fluid is as I change the size of this, you can see that these columns, they are changing themselves in size. And their content is moving to fit. That's what makes them a fluid layout. Now if we had a 2-column fixed layout, they are pretty much static. That's why they're fixed. So as I change the size of this, the columns and content do not change. See? Then there's the 2-column fixed centered, where it's the same thing, except all of the content is now centered on the page. So as you move this, the only thing that changes is technically the margins on the outside of this content, but the content itself does not move. It's not fluid. So then we also have a 3-column fluid content. This is also very common. So you have your, they decided to put their navigation in the left column, the main content in the center, and some extra items on the side. So let's see the fluidity on this one. So these became very narrow. Let me see. What's this one do? Oh. Position columns fixed. So this is another type of layout. Okay, let me go back to the 3-column fluid. So this is pretty standard format. Now let's take a look at the CSS. Remember, Control U. Look at this, the text. Wow, that's quite a mess. We're going to open that in NetBeans. So instead, 3-column fluid. Have NetBeans open. Close all of these. And drag this over to NetBeans so we can take a look at. There we go. Minimize those. And put this to the side. So let's take a look at the CSS for that. So we see there's a main CSS, ID main. The main is floating to the left with a width of 45%. There's a new section which also floats to the left with a width of 22%. And there's a body. So let's see how this is put together. So we have a header here, some links. Now, is that? So this is link story. Oh, here we go. ID links. So let's see if we have any CSS just for links. Yes, we do. Links floats to the left, has a width of 22%. And let's see if we can get that here. That's what that looks like. Now if we change some of these values, let's say we only wanted 12%. I'm gonna hit this. Actually, you know what? Instead of doing that, I'm going to duplicate this line, comment this line out, and call this one original values. That way I have it. Okay, I'm going to change this one to 12%. Go back to here. And you see it takes up a width of just 12%. What if I wanted 30%? This should take up more of the available space. And even though this is a fluid content, it's taking up so much space that this news item has just fallen off the page. Fallen off out of this 3-column down here. 25. That's probably the sweet spot. Let's see. No. Okay. Change it a little bit smaller. That one stays on the line. Okay. Now there's other designs which we talked about last time. Let's see. And that's when you go through the grid system. Let me go to their website. Line 16 grid. There we go. And so you can see this one is a 12-column grid. Let's go to their website. So we could sort of see overall 2 columns. So here, this is one column. You can think of this as one column, and this is another. But design-wise, they're dividing their columns into grids. when we use the grid system. So we know, okay, I want 2 columns, but I want it to be at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns big, and then the rest will be 4, because this is a 12 column layout. Okay, let's look at this website. Technically, we see 2 columns in the main content. There's 1 column here and another column here. But when we look at it in a grid view, where does this thing go? He's using a 16 column layout, and he's using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8. So he's pretty much split right in half. He's using 8 columns in the grid system to develop his site. So why am I talking about 2 different things about columns and grid system? So looking only at the columns, so this is like the overall presentation. So there's a 2 column presentation, but since these are all very, very common, different frameworks emerged. So last time we talked about the 960 GS as one of the most common. So that's why you think of the overall design in this approach. You draw it out. So you're like thinking, okay, I need 2 columns. But when you go into the HTML, you don't have to always specify these percentages here and develop columns that way. So this was technically more an old school style where you're specifying the width for all these elements. Now, since these are so common and the sizes are so common, that's one of the reasons why these grid systems showed up. And 960 assumes a 960 pixel wide screen and divides everything accordingly with spacing, so that when you think, okay, when I'm looking at the screen itself, after I've decided I want 2 different columns or 3 different columns, you can say, okay, in a 12, if I divide the whole thing up to 12, I just need this many. You know, I need like 4, or I need 6, or I need 8 for this content, and you just specify 4, 6, 8, and using their CSS system to build your site. Oh, I saw Sony here. Okay, here we go. So Sony Music is using a 16 column grid. Let's go to the website now and see how it looks. So behind the scenes, this is using 16 columns. But when we're looking at it, and when we first look at it to design, we see there's this header up here, and there's another header here, but it's using up 2 columns. Here's the main content here, and a sidebar over here. What if we look at their CSS? Their source code, I mean. So, looks like they're linking to everything else. Okay. There we go. Here's Sony's main style. So they used all of this to create their page, and they did. See how they effectively use comments here? Let me see if I can magnify this. Okay, so they commented out this code here is for single pages. Here's the sidebar. So they used comments to indicate the following code is going to be for the sidebar. It makes it very easy to read this and consume this. So if we technically wanted, we could use this style sheet. And you know, in fact, that's what I'm going to do. So you're probably asking, how are you going to do that? There's, I'm going to click save here. And save it right there. Copy that. now I have to add a head section. Head. Head. That's the whole. Let's point it directly at the website. I don't want to point it directly at the website because I saved it locally. That's where I have it saved. I'm going to add a title of this page now. And call this one Class Portfolio. Without looking too much, we'll see what happens once I upload. Let's see. So now that I linked to it, I need to upload that CSS and index file together. Overwrite, and there. So let's take a look at that. Test systems. So using just Sony style, this is what happened to the page. Interesting, isn't it? Okay. So that's looking at successful styles. And oh, let me talk about hosting. Not there. This one's better. So, hosting. So we are hosting your files. So your URL would be teslasystems.com:1337. So this is technically the port. When you see this colon after a website, that means port number /users and then your name. So that's how our hosting works. You upload through FTP. But now if you wanted outside hosting, you can just type web hosting and you'll get a number of different results from Google. GoDaddy looks like GoDaddy offers some web hosting. HostGator offers it. Let me just click a few. HostGator and Bluehost. Now let me type Microsoft ASP.NET web hosting. So Microsoft also has a FAQ on web hosting. Oop, they moved it, huh? Great. So this is, yeah, this says 0, but this, don't be fooled, that's just a free trial. Anywhere you see this $0 month, no one's pretty much giving free web hosting here. These are all free trials. And so there's different types. There's a shared hosting, a virtual server, a dedicated server, and there's cloud. So what is shared hosting? It means one machine is serving like a lot of different websites. And there's a virtual server, means on a particular machine there's a virtual computer running that is your website. So it means instead of like a whole machine, running a website, it's virtually running. And so this offers a little bit better performance than a shared hosting plan. Now, a dedicated server means you're actually renting the entire machine, and that machine is its only job is to host your website. As you can see, if you go from shared hosting, just looking at their Microsoft's partners, so they're technically offering 0, but no, it's actually more than 0. But once you start going up, their virtual server. So let me just say it again. Virtual server is a really big computer running virtual computers within it. So and this one, this goes up to 8. Now if you want your own machine, suddenly you see the price is jumping. What is cloud hosting? Something that's pretty new. But sites like Google, Microsoft, they all have their dedicated server. And actually, we don't think of it as just one computer. It could actually be a multiple number of computers that are all dedicated to just serving the web page. And so this one is ASP.NET/hosting/home. This is not an endorsement of any of these products here. I'm just showing you that this is one place where you can find information on hosting products. HostGator also does web hosting. Let's see. Do they show the plans? Okay, so there's this hatchling plan. You get 3 years at $3.96 a month, but this, see all these little asterisks here? Probably not. So this technically, it's less than $4 a month if you pay all 3 years up front. So that's something to be aware of. Unlimited disk space. When they offer all these unlimited things, there's technical limits behind the scenes they don't tell you until after you sign up. But so that's just a couple of different hosting options. I'm showing you this company here, and then all these people advertising on Microsoft's website. So what did we accomplish today? Today we published our website. We got our files ready to be presentable on the web. So I know some of you were uploading your public _HTML folder. Those aren't, that's not pretty to look at. So once we go forward, make sure to name your folders, not public HTML and _HTML, but something that's readable. Include your landing page, which is this one, where you link to the file and makes it easier for the user to consume. Okay. And we looked at successful layouts.